metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about. Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Jen Cruz, your host tonight, and this is the Journey Radio Show. Hey, we're showing up as the She-Squatchers because we're going to be talking about Bigfoot again tonight. So I've got my trusty teammate on the line. Jenna, are you there?
I am. I'm super excited about tonight. We've got a great guest.
I'm so excited too. This is somebody that I have listened to many times before on Sasquatch Chronicles. I'm a big fan. Hi, Wes. Shout out. And every time I listen to Thomas Sewid on this on Sasquatch Chronicles, I thought, oh gosh, I'd love to have him on my show, but I was too chicken to reach out and ask him. I finally got up the nerve, and here he is with us tonight. Everybody, welcome Thomas Sewid. Hey, Tom, are you there?
Hi, how you all doing? Nice to be on your show.
You know, I didn't say which tribe you were from because I'm sure I wouldn't say it right. So I'm going to leave that up to you.
Yeah, I'm from the Kwakwaka'wakw First Nation from northeastern Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, on the coast.
Oh, that is awesome. And I know that I would never have pronounced that correctly, no matter how many times I tried. I'm so glad I left it to you. That is awesome. But you, right before we came on the show, you said you're part of Ojibwe too.
I think I have Ojibwe or Mohawk on my mother's side. She's full-blooded Cree First Nations from central Canada and Saskatchewan. So I'm kind of, I guess you could say, a Heinz 57, real mixed bag. I got all kinds of tribal blood in me.
We could be related. We might be cousins.
I just tell people I'm a thoroughbred Indian.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, we might be related. My mom is a Red Lake Nation band member up in northern Minnesota. And I might be a band member too now. I applied and I'm supposed to be getting approved here. So I'm not sure. I'll be getting my paperwork soon.
Well, that is spooky because one of my descendants came from Minnesota on my mom's side.
Really? Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. This is awesome. This is awesome. Yeah. Well, okay, cousin, let's get this going.
Okay, let's go.
I feel like the third wheel.
It's okay, Jenna. You can be part of my tribe. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So, Tom is with Sasquatch Island, and I'm going to have him describe to you what exactly that means and what he's been doing. He's just amazing. So take it away, Tom.
So first off, Sasquatch Island, it's a friend of mine started the Facebook group on Vancouver Island, and it was referring to Vancouver Island because other people call it Ape Island. It's just filled with Sasquatches all over. So anyway, I went to his Facebook group about 5 years ago, and there was a button flash, and it said, this group needs an administrator. So I pushed the button, and I became an administrator. So I bring my Canadian Indian beliefs, perspectives on Junakwa, the wild woman of the woods, the female Sasquatch in the Kwakwaka'wakw people's culture. And the next thing you know, it just looked like winning a slot machine, all the numbers going up. And then, I thought, wow, this is great. And then I got invited to go to Omaha, Nebraska to be with the Omaha tribe. And I got to see in a FLIR Scout 2, two Sitonga. Their Sasquatch is a big male walking across the field, and beside it, a shorter pregnant female. And she was really pregnant. And I was just so enthralled that, wow, it looks exactly like Patty. The feet are coming up, the arms are long, they're kind of leaning forward, and they have that lip hanging down kind of Cro-Magnon look about it with the brow ridges. And I was just like, wow, I finally got to see two in a FLIR. So I came out and I started telling other people, and all of a sudden this Wes Germer called me up, emailed me and said, hey, you want to be on my podcast? I didn't even know what a podcast was. I had to go to my wife. I call my wife Peggy, and I'm like, what's a podcast? And she's explaining it. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to be on one with the Sasquatch Chronicles. So I went on. And of course, I was being the bushman, commercial fisherman, ex 24-year grizzly bear hunting guide that I am. I was being Tom Sewid, you know, using four-letter words and saying things I shouldn't have been saying. And it offended people, but I learned I have to tone it down, but still be Tom. And all of a sudden, it just Wes phoned me up and said, I want you on again. My listeners want you back on. So I went on and I did. The third one I did was Sasquatch and Smallpox. And it just blew the lid on the whole Sasquatch Bigfoot community. Like, my God, he's got oral history for the native people that Sasquatches came to the Indian villages, dragging their sick family members and holding the young ones covered in smallpox, where the human Indian chief told his people, go get my sick people. And they brought him out of the big houses and showed the Sasquatches standing at the edge of the wood, their smallpox covered family members. And the Sasquatches just hung their heads turned and walked into the forest. And to me, it really opened up, I guess you could say, this world of Sasquatches, that, hey, Tom's got something to share. And what that is the First Nations, the North American Indian perspectives, beliefs. Number one, we always respect the other tribe, the Sasquatch. A lot of First Nations and American Indians, don't even call them Bigfoot because it's considered derogatory. So they refer to them in their native language, or the other tribe, or the mountain ones, and so forth. But Sasquatch Island, Vancouver Island, I thought, geez, I'm talking to people up in the Northwest Territories. When I go up there, I'm talking to people in other provinces, other states. So Indians, they call North America Turtle Island, because if you look from space, the Aleutian Peninsula is a flipper, Hudson's Bay, Canada is the mouth, Newfoundland, Labrador is another flipper, Florida Peninsula, Baja Peninsula, the back flippers, and of course Mexico and Central America, the tail. How we knew what it looked like from the space, I'm not even going to get into that. I don't do UFOs. But anyway, I said, everyone, all of us on North America, whether we be Native American or First Nations Canada, Inuit, or Americans or Canadians that have tribe members of North America, we all have a story about our encounter, what we smelled, what we heard, what we saw, what banged on our back window. So I said, I know, instead of Turtle Island, I'm going to call it Sasquatch Island, because everyone in North America has a story. So that's what I'm doing, just trying to help people. Like Sasquatch Island Facebook group is my lifetime, and I'm 55 in a big 10 days. But it's my bush experience, 26 plus years living in the bush. Now we got this pandemic coming. As soon as the P word gets labeled, I'm out of here. I'm going back to bush, because I've had 2 heart attacks. Every time I get a sickness, my lungs fill up with fluid. I'm a smoker. I'm obese. I'm an FBI, beeping big Indian. So I get that virus. I'm 6 feet under, toes up. So what I'm going to do is look at the other tribe, the Sasquatch. We know they got the same diseases as us: smallpox, influenza during the Spanish flu, and tuberculosis, because there's so many stories about the coughing Sasquatches back during the TB days and around Western Canada and elsewhere. So, but nowadays, we that are in the searching for conclusive proof in existence of the other tribe, we know that there's a population increase. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the Sasquatch, the other tribe, is proliferating like bunny rabbits, the same as us Indians in the Americas. When I was born, there was 1,200 Kwakwaka'wakw in my tribe. I hear now we're almost 10,000. And now you look at every other indigenous tribe in the Americas, we're just proliferating like bunny rabbits, as is Sasquatch. And that's what I'm studying on Vancouver Island, how inferior zones of lower protein accumulations, they don't have a salmon river. There's no elk. There's no human farms or orchards or compost boxes. Well, we're seeing these lesser Sasquatches, meaning they're smaller, leaner. There's young adults that have been cast from the house or the clan, and they have to go establish their own territories, but all the prime spots are taken. And one of the things my wife and I did is, just from the identification reports of Sasquatches on northern Vancouver Island and central Vancouver Island, on the north part, we found that it correlated to my tribal groups of the Kwakwaka'wakw nations. prominent geological features like points or islands, rivers, pictographs, which are the rock drawings, pictographs, which are the chiseled in the rock designs. Those are our boundary markers. Well, those clan territories of the Kwakwaka'wakw Nation correlate to the Sasquatch clans by the reports on, colors, sizes, and repetition being seen more than 1 or 2 times. So we have to really think about that, because as we were discussing before the show started, we have a pandemic coming, and the people that are in denial, the naysayers, they're going to be the first ones that when the pandemic is implemented and the regional governments and military have to put areas in quarantine, well, it's going to be like Wuhan and other places. Once every 3 days, you got 4 hours to go get your groceries. You can't go on public transportation because there is none. You have to walk. You can't use your vehicle. And all of a sudden, the world as we know it, this modern world where you can pick up a cell phone and private message someone on the other side of the world, that's going to end possibly. And they're going to shut down the internet. I'm just waiting for it to fall in China. And then, of course, you're in lockdown. You're in cities. And in all honesty, who has 6 months worth of food provisions in their house? Now think about the real scary thing. How many rolls of toilet paper do you have in your house? Enough to last 6 months? This is what people don't equate. Well, I'm not going to be here in this concrete world of 90-degree corners and concrete and people all over, shoulder to shoulder. I'm going to do like the Sasquatch. I'm going to go out with the other tribe. I'm going to go to my Sasquatch research camp. 5 cabins that are made of red cedar that look like traditional style, my tribal people's big houses. Native orchid designs painted on the fronts because that used to be a sea kayak camp I ran. But it's on the edge of saltwater Johnson Straits. But I went and put my place at this cabins at this narrow gap between Vancouver Island and the mainland. Well, who knew? I put it on the place where the Sasquatchers are swimming back and forth. And we've had sightings, we've had vocalizations, we've had tracks. I've brought in Nathan Rio. I brought in Tyson, who was in the show Bigfoot Girl, that's on Netflix, and I star in it too. Bigfoot Girl, plug there. But, and I've brought Todd Neese from the North American Primate Conservancy. I brought him there. Dave and Grace Williams, that are avid Sasquatchers on Vancouver Island. Keith Carlson Ross, who's the moderator for Vancouver Island Sasquatch Investigation Squad. We've all been there, and more people are coming. And we go there to hopefully hear or see Sasquatch, and it comes up every now and then. But this pandemic comes, I'm going to go live with them, because I just jump on a boat and I zip across 10 minutes across the channel. I have what Sasquatch swims across for. Endless shellfish beds. Yep.
Can I ask a question? No, you say you're going to go live with the other tribe, but how do you think you'll be accepted by Sasquatch going out there? Because, you have to think about this. That's their areas, that's where they...
He's already got cabins out there.
But, if he's going total Sasquatch, getting rid of everything, as far as being away from everyone, humans in general, basically. Is that what you're doing, did you say?
Don't get me wrong. We do have cell bars there, so I will be bringing this generator in. Probably even my laptop so we can watch Netflix.
But funny.
I'm going to go off. I'll go off grid, but I'm going to live like them. So a lot of people are going, how many thousands of dollars worth of canned food and dehydrated food you bring in? I'm like, what you talking about, Willis?
You need a bow, an arrow.
Low tide, the buffet table's set. There's so much seafood out in Western Canada from British Columbia's coastline. We have the highest concentration of protein in its natural state per cubic meter or yard. Scientists identified that in a place of high tide current and at low water shellfish bed. When they did the measurement, the world's highest concentration of protein. Go figure. That's why we have 8-foot Sasquatches swinging arm, walking around all over the place, because of all that protein. We have deer, we have elk, bears, cougar, bird life. We got seals and sea lion rookeries. So this place abounds with food and the berries and the different, natural foods that are out there. I'll bring some coffee and a big pile of cigarettes, that's for darn sure, and a lot of toilet paper. But aside from that, a little bit of garlic and butter to go with my seafood, some salt and pepper. And I got all the food I want. And I'll be eating just like a Sasquatch. So a lot of people that are listening might go, what does a Sasquatch eat in British Columbia? Instead of taking up too much time, the best thing is I'll just rattle it off. Here we are in the end of February. The herring are hitting the beaches right now north of me, about 40, 50 miles. And it looks like someone spilled milk in the salt water and it goes green and turquoise. That's all the milk from the males as the eggs are being deposited by the females over everything on the bottom, right in the shallows with, 2 inches of water. It's just silver spawning herring right now. And it will last in different regions for up to 10 days. Well, us humans, we're going there with our seine boat to catch the schools offshore. We have a 95-ton quota. The gill netters with the tangle nets, they have their quotas to get in the shallower waters. The birds, the sea lions, seals, everything. It's a feast. The first major feast after winter. Highest concentration of seasonal protein are herring in the shallows right now. After the herring spawn towards the beginning of, through March, in the beginning of, end of March, beginning of April, the ooligans, a small fish, otherwise known as the candlefish, down in Washington State, I see they call them smelt, that go in the rivers to spawn. That's happening right now. People are dip netting them. Well, in British Columbia, those ooligans or smelt will hit our rivers that are glacier melt. And once again, reports through the decades of Sasquatches reaching down, grabbing the ooligans and eating them, killing the seals and sea lions that get caught in the shallows when the tide goes out. They're caught in tide pools, the seals. And there's been reports of the Sasquatches going after those in those ooligan rivers. And then, of course, in May, we have the buds and the greenery and everything coming. And the snow's melting and receding up the mountains. As that's taken place, the golden eagles from the United States come up north from the winter, and they come up in our spring. And with the turkey vultures, they're looking at the snow as it's receding to the dumb deer and elk that didn't go off that hill quick enough in November, and they got covered in snow and died. Now the refrigerator door opens when the ice melts in the snow, and there's the carrion, deer, elk, and of course the rodents. And Sasquatches, Vancouver Island in British Columbia area, they follow that receding snow. They look up, they see ravens, they see golden eagles, they know there's carrion on the ground, and that's where they go. And then of course when June comes, those alpine meadows, no snow, filled with all kinds of vegetation, rodents, and hours, they can eat it and produce a lot of milk. Sasquatch, the smart bears, wolves, cougars, they're up there, as is Sasquatch. And then all of a sudden, in July, all of our people down here in the valleys and lowlands, we're all crying because the forest fires come and wipe out our houses, wipe out our businesses. Sasquatch is looking down from the mountaintops. That fire looks like it's going to come up this mountain. It's going to get smoky. Tonight we'll go down this mountain and up that one over there across the valley, and they watch the fire go by them. So that's why Sasquatches aren't seen in British Columbia in the summertime, because they're up on the alpines. And then when they look down from the alpines in end of July, beginning of August, and they see the sunlight reflecting on the backs of the soaring eagles and seagulls in the rivers, that's the dinner bell ringing. And Sasquatch knows the eagles and the seagulls are in the rivers. That means the salmon have returned. They come down and they start feeding on salmon. And when November rains come and the salmon spawn's almost over and the flood rains come and the rivers are blowing out, can't safely go in that river no more to harvest protein. Well, then the Sasquatches swim and go to the places where the shellfish beaches are for November, December, January, February to get ready to start the cycle of harvest in March once again with the herring and the ooligans. So that's everything's in Sasquatch Island about that. And there's other things like moonstales and abalones and limpets. And my coastal area is just so full of protein. And when this pandemic comes, I really, for listeners, really think about it. We all have to be like a Sasquatch. We have to survive at all costs. We have to be elusive like them, shy like them. We can't go up. Right now, people reach out to try to shake my hand or give me a hug, and I'm like, psst, hiss, don't touch me. There's virus around, man. I'm not touching you. And that's what we have to be like. And when that pandemic does come, the strong humans of our tribe are going to be out there in those wildlands, out in the forests, out in the steeps, out in the desert edges, out everywhere, living like a Sasquatch. Because if Sasquatch can live there for eternity, so can we. Because what is Sasquatch? One of the big questions. It's just a feral human. That's all it is. When I first met Dr. John Bindernagel, my late friend and late friend of many researchers and Bigfoot people, me and him had so much fun, but we both believed that Sasquatch was a derivative of the branch of Gigantopithecus blacki that came over on the land bridge thousands of years ago. But through us being researchers, and I wasn't a researcher back then, I was just a bushman, and we both came to he asked me one time, he goes, Tom, the way he used to act, I don't know if you do him, but he's really just full of life. He's Tom, what do you think of Sasquatches? And I'm like, I don't think it's Gigantopithecus blacki. I think it's a feral human. Why would you say that? And I said, well, because when I got that Revenue Canada, which is like IRS bill in the mail that said I owed over $127,000, I just went, my God, I can't pay that. I went and talked to financial people and they said, my God, you can't pay that. And I said, I hate the concrete world. I don't like humans no more. So in 1990, I think it was when the night of Desert Storm is when the next morning I went into the bush and I never came out again for 9 years. I would come out to cash a paycheck or change American money from being a hunting guide into Canadian because the exchange rate was so huge. And of course, I hit the nice clubs and went and chased some skirt and had fun for a few days or a week, but I would always go back to bush again. And when I was out there one time, I remember a girlfriend dumped me and I was mad. So I got like 20 cartons of cigarettes and 20 pounds of coffee and I went in. And I remember I was 107 days without seeing a human. But leading up to that 107 days, it had to be around probably 70 or 80 days. So I was up in Alpine working my way down because winter was coming. And I could smell cigarette smoke. And I was out of smokes. I could smell coffee. I was out of coffee. And I was just like, oh, man, I could go for a cigarette and a coffee. So I did like Sasquatch. I walked to the bush edge and I could hear these humans. And I grabbed a branch and I pulled it down and I looked. Coffee, cigarettes. And I listening to them talk. And just like a Sasquatch, I just let the branch go, turned around and walked back into the bush. I couldn't bring myself to go see humans. And it wasn't until weeks later, months later, when someone came out and Tom, come here, Tom. And he said, come here, come have a smoke, come have a coffee. I even brought pizza for you, come here. And just like a wild dog, he had to coax me when I walked up to him and he goes, you gone feral, my friend. He goes, look at you, you even got those whiskers. I never saw you with whiskers before. And he goes, boy, you smell like a Sasquatch, you stink. I just looked at him, give me another cigarette. And I sat there and I took off with him and went back to the concrete world. But it took me days to bring myself back into being able to look at 90-degree corners. And now I know it's called a panic attack. But back then I just thought, my God, I'm going through re-entry. I remember I was in Vancouver and about 2 a.m. I was in a big fancy hotel and I just started shaking. I didn't know what was happening to me. So I went downstairs and I jumped in a taxi and I got him to take me to Stanley Park. It's a peninsula in the middle of the city, like Central Park in New York. And I just went walking around at 2 a.m. and I felt calm, at peace. And that's why I look at the Sasquatches just as the other tribe. They're just feral humans. And what is feralism? Take a little pink pig. I hear I'm not a farmer, but if you let it go wild, They say in a couple months it gets long black hair and it gets tusks and it gets bigger and it gets mean. I see those pictures from Texas. Those are mean pigs down there. And then you take a dog on Indian Reserve up here and you have a collar on it and you call him Fido and he plays with you and sleeps with you. But you let him go run with the wild res dogs. 10 days later, you're never going to get your doggy back. It'll run around with that collar and you'll see it get bigger, meaner. That's feralism. Nature takes care of its own. So because I'm First Nations and because I grew up in a real heavy culture, the Kwakwaka'wakw tribe has of all the Indian tribes in North America, we have the biggest connection to the Sasquatch, Chunakwa, our highest ranked crest, mask put on men when they're made into chieftains during the Great Potlatch ceremony, feast dishes carved from a log, 15 feet long, 4 feet wide, carved of a Chunakwa lying down. You grab her breasts and lift them, their lids, and they're hollowed out where the food would go. The belly's hollowed out. You can see it all on Sasquatch Island, and because I collect it from all the museums and everything, and people's private collections. Vancouver Island has the highest concentration of wood carvings of Sasquatch on Earth, thousands of them, right from the natives to the non-natives. You walk around our towns and our cities, you see Sasquatch carvings all over, paintings everywhere. Walk on the beach trails that are paved, you see the Sasquatch carvings in Campbell River. Just amazing. But to me, I look at it all and I say, after being a lifetime in bush, actually almost going Sasquatch myself when I went feral, I look at them and I say, you know what? Them pigs and doggies, when they go feral, get bigger. Nature takes care of its own. Kwakwaka'wakw, the creator, our God, he takes care of everything. And one day, I think thousands of years ago, different chiefs all over Sasquatch Island, North America, were sitting there looking at 90-degree corners in houses, teepee poles, pit huts with the round roofs. And they said, look at this. We have clothing. We have stone tools. We have mortars and pestles. We have obsidian and jade and flint and shirt knives. We have metal in some instances. But look around us. Now think of the movie, The Gods Must Be Crazy, where they got a Coke bottle into a bush tribe in South Africa. And next thing you know, they're bonking each other upside the head with it. They're stealing it back and forth. Well, I think those chiefs of old in North America said, all of this modern stuff, look at it. We have anger, pettiness, thievery, hate. We have warfare. We have murder. We have sloth. Everything bad. Look at it. So as your chief with my family clan, tonight, when everyone's sleeping, we're dropping our clothes and all of our modern implements. We're going to walk back into the forest where we came from. And we're going to live more in tune with nature, in harmony with everything around us. And that's what I think happened. And of course, Kwakwaka'wakw, the creator, God, he said, well, if you're going to live that type of life, you're going to have to be bigger. You're going to have to be stronger. You're going to have to get more hair to stay warm. But because now they're hairier and big, they're in direct conflict with the hairless humans. They're fighting over clamfish beds, berry patches, fishing grounds, antelope, deer runs, and so forth. And because they don't have weapons or fire, they're getting their butts kicked. Well, that's when they said, maybe we should become the humans of the night. And Kwakwaka'wakw, the creator God above, said, well, if you're going to live by the night, I'll give you nocturnal vision. And that's why they live at night, and that's why their eyes reflect. And when you see a Sasquatch, when I'm out there and I hear them or smell them or I feel them, because you feel those hairs stand up, I just, yo, weeksis. Majos ye chona. Hello, how are you doing, Sasquatch? I don't know who you are. What are you up to? And sometimes you hear, or you see a branch, and that's what you got to watch. The people that are out there, you know, they're sitting there going, how do I know there's a Sasquatch around? And I always hear it from the hunters, the berry pickers, the mushroom pickers, the hikers. There's no such thing as Sasquatch. So I always say to them, you ever been in the bush and all of a sudden you hear something, you turn around and there's a branch bouncing, but there's no bird, there's no raccoon, there's no possum, there's no baby cougar, there's no baby bear. Yeah. Well, that's Sasquatch looking. And he goes, that hairless human is at his comfort zone in the forest. moves like the breeze like I do, knows what he's doing, looks around all the time, just like we do. So he pulls that branch down even further and he lets it go. He turns and he walks away. What he just told the hairless human in bush language is, I'm here too. I saw you. I let you know I'm here. I turned that way and went away. You leave me alone. I leave you alone. And you look at those skeptics. Geez, Tom, that's happened like 3 times to me out mushroom picking. Geez, Tom, when I'm hunting, that's happened a few times. Especially in this one area I get the creeps at. So the watcher, Chunacha, Sitonga, Gogi, Naga, Sasquatch, Bigfoot is always there.
Oh,
It looks like we're in our halftime.
we are at halftime. We have to go to our break. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Perfect. Good job.
Oh my
I could
gosh.
listen forever.
It went so fast, I wasn't ready. I thought, what are you talking about? Halfway. You are so interesting. I just love it.
Thank you. Galakasla.
Oh,
That is awesome.
so I've got a quick question. Have you ever heard, or do you believe that their skulls or their jaws are a little bit different? And I'm asking you off the air just because I'm curious what you think about that. And as far as a language and them being able to maybe pronounce certain vowels and things like that. Any thoughts?
Tommy. 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 They can talk. They can
So you
talk
don't
good.
You don't think they're having issues with vowel sounds then? Any consonant?
I do. There's like Chick-fil-A. It's a chicken restaurant in the United States. I can't
Jen
say
knows
that.
that
My
one.
wife rattles it off because I seen it. And I said, Chick-fil-A. I'm like, what kind of clothing store is that, Peggy? And she's like, oh my God, Tom. She goes, it's a chicken restaurant.
How fun are you? I bet you guys have a blast together.
Oh yeah, we have lots of fun. Yeah, you better come Sasquatching with us. She'll tell you all the stories.
That would be fun. You tell your wife hello from us, and hopefully we can get down there sometime.
Up
Oh
there.
yeah.
Up there, sorry, excuse us.
Where do you
Excuse
two
me.
live?
Minnesota.
30 seconds.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. Well, Jenna lives right over the border in North Dakota in West Fargo. Fargo, don't you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know that show.
Jen,
All right, here we go.
and roll.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and we are the She-Squatchers. And we want to ask you for a little bit of help right now because we have been challenged by a YouTuber to a YouTube subscriber race, and we need to win. The challenge is over on April 18th when we're going to be out at the Yakima Valley Bigfoot Conference in Washington State, and so that's when the race ends, and we need to make sure that we have more subscribers than this other person, or we will never hear the end of it. So please go to our YouTube channel at She-Squatchers Official and hit subscribe so that we can win this. We need your help. We need your help. Please do that. So you can also find us at shesquatchers.com, and right at the top of the page, you're going to find links to our YouTube channel and to our Facebook page. Please come over and like us there because that would be awesome. That's where all our up-to-date stuff is going on. Tonight we have an amazing guest, Tom Sewid. He's coming to us from British Columbia, otherwise known as Sasquatch Island. He's got so much to share with us. I do want to hear more. We don't have enough time with Tom. We're going to have him back on the show. I know everybody's going to agree on that. But we do also, he's preparing for the coronavirus outbreak or pandemic to go back and live in the bush with like Sasquatch in a natural way, in a good way. And before we were on the air tonight, he was talking about masks and alternatives, and I'd love to hear some of the alternatives for everybody else out there too, because it's always good to be prepared, and it's never okay to not be prepared enough, right? So it's better to have and not need, right? So let's hope that that's the case, but with the CDC saying that it's not like a question of when or if, it's now a question of when. So hopefully it won't be as bad as everybody thinks it could get, but we can pray about it, but let's be ready. What you got for us, Tom?
Get lots of toilet paper. I know, because up in Canada, you remember Standing Rock, whenever the Indians were protesting. And out here right now, Canada's shut down with Indians protesting. And people are like, Tom, you're head of Sasquatch Island. You're the head of Pacific Balance Marine Management. The president trying to get license for Indians to harvest seals and sea lions in the Pacific Northwest to sell it to protect salmon. Get the numbers down. So you're real vocal. You're on TV. You're on podcasts. What do you think about sticking up for us? And I'm like, for the protest? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, over pipelines and over LNG, natural gas? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, no, I can't do that. They go, why not? I said, I enjoy toilet paper too much. And I think of the guy who had the power saw cutting the tree down to get me that roll of toilet paper. I can't be a hypocrite. I can't go against toilet paper. And it just shuts them down.
Oh,
You're so
that's
funny.
But I will say that do they have a camp set up like they did at Standing Rock?
Oh God, they're on railway tracks. They're shutting down major intersections in our cities. Like the Indians are going hostile in Canada. Don't come up here right now. Besides that, we don't want your norovirus, so stay back down the States.
Okay.
Stay in your own country, he says.
I can't say that either because I live part-time in Kent, Washington with my common law wife, Peggy. Aww. She lives in Washington State. She paddled out in a zebra kayak into my abandoned native village 15 years ago. And I liked her wolf eyes. I liked the way something caught me. I didn't know what it was. And then when we got together a few years later, after she had a divorce and I had a divorce, I phoned her up and she goes, what are you doing? I said, oh, my common law wife, mother of my children, threw me out of the house. So I'm going to come back down to my territories and go live in the bush. Then I'm going to chase your skirt because I like you. And she laughed, kept in touch. She came back out the bush and I threw my cards on the table and we've been together ever since. 12 and a half years. I proposed to her on national television as a surprise on this TV show. I sent in my proposal and they got us on TV and we're wearing what we call regalia, button blankets with crest forms. And our 2 button blankets and aprons are all killer whale designs. Abalone shell, mother of pearl, and we have these cedar bark headpieces on with abalone round frontlets and white ermine skin. And I said, we're doing a photo op for our whale watch company. So you and I are going to be in our regalia with the killer whales when they come in front of the boat. Well, she's looking at all these tour boats pulling away from the whales. And she's like, what are they doing? Well, my captain had been on the radio, my native buddy. And these movie cameras are going. She thought it was a commercial I'm doing for the internet and my TV show. And then all of a sudden the whales come right in front. And I said, you paddled in your zebra kayak to Johnson Straits from Washington. You came up to Vancouver Island to paddle with the Maginot, the killer whales. Well, afterwards, you paddled into my territories the next day, and you came to the abandoned Indian village that I was a guardian watchman of. And that's when we met. And I think it's only fitting that, the whales got us together. So it's only fitting they should be here when they hear me ask you, Peggy, will you marry me? And I open up the box with a native silver whale ring with gold inlay and everything. And the cameras are going. And of course, she said, I do. And all of a sudden, these 2 blonde girls jumped out of their floater suits and they're, welcome to the wedding bells, the TV show, the proposal. What a beautiful proposal. And Peggy's just like, oh my God, you got us on TV. And that's how I proposed to her. So.
Wow, that's an awesome story. I think that's the best proposal story I've ever heard in my life. Thank you for sharing.
Well, if anyone wants to see it, just email me and I'll send them a link to it.
Yes, I want to see it.
My expectations have just went up seriously for life in general.
Sorry, guys.
I ruined forever by that story.
Life's too short. You got to carpe diem every day. Seize the day.
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. And that's like with this pandemic. We can sit there and be a sheep in the city and go, oh my God, what are they going to do? Well, we could possibly see martial law. We're going to have draconian measures step in, meaning transportation shutdowns, don't go to work. Instead of sitting there worrying about your mortgage, worrying about your bills, worrying about your retirement plan, maybe before it gets to the draconian measures, the totalitarian military control that could possibly erupt, you might want to, time to go where the Sasquatches are. Grab a pack, grab your gun, grab a knife, grab your fire starter, grab your toilet paper, head off with the Sasquatch and live. Carpe diem. Live like the Sasquatch. I don't hear Sasquatches complaining about living out there without clothes. Mind you, if they knew what toilet paper was, they'd really be complaining.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just something that we have to really think about. You know, I'm a bushman. A lot of people, you know, you can go to Sasquatch Island for the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of things there for people to survive out here. And, you know, you got to think too, if this thing goes up to a year, do you want to be where it's cold, or do you want to be out here on Vancouver Island or Washington State where it's, you know, liquid sunshine in the winter where you don't have to shovel that and it doesn't freeze up very much, not at sea level.
Washington
That's just something.
State, it's beautiful.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
very lucky. Oh, my goodness.
Except for traffic jams. The traffic jams everywhere. It's no fun. But yeah, no, it's Sasquatches, you know, it's like a lot of people ask me, Tom, are you hunting them? And like you mentioned, Yakima and that conference that's there. And everyone's, oh, you going to Yakima conference? He's, you know, the guy who hosts it and everything. I've gone out with him, took him out a couple times, but he's he wants to shoot it. I can't do that. I can't be a part of that because
Mel doesn't want to shoot them.
Who?
Mel?
No, not Mel. The other Yakima conference guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a shorter guy. I don't want to say his name, but anyway, he's a Sasquatch rodeo or something he has out there. But when he was out with me, he mentioned that he wanted to shoot one. And I'm just like, wow, I can't be a part of this. Because our culture, the Kwakwaka'wakw, we always show them respect. You never, ever say you're going to go out and hunt them. Then people say, well, we always see pictures and video of you. You got a 12 gauge over your shoulder or a rifle. Well, yeah, I'm not stupid. There's cougars out there, grizzly bears and black bears with an attitude. Of course they're going to have a gun with me.
Yeah.
But I've been out there long enough that the clan that lives around, well, the clan that I occupy their turf, we had a little bit of a, I guess you say, a disagreement in 2006. They didn't like that I was there. And I went in there with my sister, who's a concrete Indian and 10 years younger than me. She goes, I want to see your cabins. And I said, yeah, okay, come on. And I had my non-native kayak guide and my native 17-year-old worker. We went to the cabins and I cut up the, you know, we got tides and we got driftwood, like logs, some of them 6 foot in diameter, 80 feet long, washing on the beach. Well, there's a lot of smaller ones about that round, but I had a kayak trip coming and I needed that gravel beach for my kayaks, not driftwood. So we went there and I cut it up with a chainsaw, 2 full tanks and the biggest chainsaw you can buy on Vancouver Island. And after my chainsaw ran out of gas, I put it down, called for a Pepsi. They threw it to me, took a drink. I sat down on a folding chair and all of a sudden 2 trees just started shaking like a spook movie. You see this real fast shaking human? That's what happened. And then I looked at my dog. His name is Land Claims. Because us Indians, he's land claims, we want our land back. Everywhere my dog, he lifted his leg to go do number 1, we were claiming it back. So I called Land Claims. Land Claims, get it. And this golden lab cross mutt runs up the hill. He's 6 years trained. He could spin bears. He's so trained for bush. And he runs up and he looks behind these 2 shaking trees. And he's about 14 feet up this rock bluff. And he just pushes himself off in a midair. He does a 180, and he's just a blonde streak with his tail between his legs, and he jumps in the dinghy boat. I'm like, okay, he's never done that before. And then all of a sudden, this big boulder, probably 5 foot in diameter, 6 feet long, just come rolling down the hill into my camp from about 15 feet up on that ledge. And right away, I'm thinking, okay, this is odd. And I'm thinking, right away, okay, do the bush thing. Don't just look at what's getting your attention. Look around. So I go like that. And there's my cookhouse. And it's only 10 by 20 feet. But 10, 15 feet behind it is the wall of cedar trees. And in between the V of 2 cedar trees, this big thing from here up looking at me. And when I looked eyeball to eyeball to it, it goes, and I was just like, give me my gun. And all of a sudden, one of the guys goes, your gun's out on the boat, which is anchored out in the bay. I'm like, well, get me an axe, get me a machete, get me something. So they got me a machete, and I'm like, told my sister, get in the dinghy. And all of a sudden you heard that. And I'm just, the hair stands up, and I'm like, oh God, they're not happy. My sister, she looked like Jesus Christ trying to walk on water, because it was high tide, and all the driftwood's floating, splashing, and going for the dinghy where my dog is. I'm slow down, Louise, slow down, you're gonna break your leg. And she gets to the dinghy, and she's, Tommy, get out of there, get out of there. I had to get my other two crew in the other dinghy, which I told them, and they're paddling out. So I jump in Louise's dinghy, but there's a line going from the beach to the boat to keep the bow in the waves. Well, she starts pulling it, and our duck punt almost flips over. I'm like, slow down, slow down. And we got on the boat, cut the lines, and got out of there. But they were mad. And that thing, when we went back the next day, where it was standing, you see the depressions in the forest, tough and everything. But we measured it. It was 7'4". That thing was one big bugger. I think it was the rogue or clan leader or something. But I went down there the next day, and I lit it up like World War III. There's 3 of us with 12 gauges and rifles. And when we were driving in, it takes an hour and a half to go up the highway and the logging road. I got this gallon of water, and I'm just drinking it. When we get to camp, my back teeth were floating, my eyes were crossed, but I started to urinate all around my camp, and I'm just screaming, this is my camp, I ain't leaving, shooting the guns off. And ever since then, we've had peace. And they'll come in and probe us. They'll come in and look in the windows when we're sleeping. And we're doing tricks like leaving digital tape recorders out now with me snoring like a bear because I drank beer and I recorded myself. And we're all awake listening while the snoring's going on. And you can hear them coming through the bush. We're trying to get the picture, but we got some blur stuff. But, I'm not going to post any blurry stuff. But anyone wants to come to the camp, I do expeditions there, and do expeditions on yachts. And in Washington State, it's as easy as showing up in Seattle. I'll jump in your vehicle or you rent one, and I'll be your Indian guide, and we'll go Sasquatching. And I have the FLIRs and the FLIR 1 that goes onto your cell phone. And that's what I saw that one in Washington State on. And then I got the FLIR monoscope from my buddy who lives in Minnesota, who I'm going to hook up with you to. And he came out with me last May. I got to get hold of him. He's got to come back out. Andre, he's African-American. And I'm not prejudiced or anything. I'm also a minority. But I'm thinking, this is the first time I've ever saw Sasquatching with an African-American. He's what we say, Juthlam. He's got darker skin than us. So I brought him to an area I figured Sasquatches would be. And he's tired, but I kept him up around the fire like 2 hours into the dark. So we set up 2 tents, but he was scared. He didn't want to sleep in his. So I said, you just sleep in my tent. It's a 3-man anyway. And it went to sleep. And about 2:30 in the morning, I just, boom, woke up. Well, I'm a bushman. I only wake up if I have to wake up. Andre's not making any noise. He's actually slid down to the edge of the tent. And he's pressed against it. So I'm looking, listening. I got up, spotlighted, but I could smell something. There's a tang in the air. I'm like, So I went back in the tent, went to sleep. Next morning, got up, making coffee and having a smoke. And Andre's like, something touched my face. Tom, he goes, and I said, you were snoring when this happened. I said, well, I got up at like 2:30. He goes, I think it was a little bit before then. I said, well, that's probably what woke me up. And he goes, I woke up and something was pushing my face, and it was big, and something was outside. So I'm like, don't move. So I started tracking, and we recorded it and everything. We found tracks, and it's called sword fern in May. And it looks like a fiddlehead fern, they call it as well. But the shafts were about 2 feet high off the ground, hundreds of them, where you could see the trackway in the grass. They were snapping it, eating it, 2 of them. And they went all around our camp. We watched how they walked along the road. We watched where they came off the mountain, down the stream. You could see their footprints in the gravel. And, Andre's just like, wow, it's spooky, man. And I showed him a rock, and I got pictures of it where it was crouched behind this rock across the road from us. When it first come off the hill, and you could see the handprints in the moss. I got to send you pictures. It's cool. Yes. And Andre's like, whoa, why were they doing all this? I said, because they'd never seen someone like you before. They've seen Indians, but I think maybe they're not used to seeing someone of your color skin, and it intrigued them. And I said, and that's probably why they touched you. They could tell by the smell who was sleeping where, and that's why they touched you.
Say, do you ever see or have you ever heard any lights with sightings of Bigfoot? I know that that's pretty common, but I'm just curious as far as what you've been through and experienced.
When, not me, no. I've seen lights a couple years ago, but it was just men in black, men in blue in Canada checking us out. Because you got to remember, they don't want us to get conclusive proof. Because once we have conclusive proof of the other tribe, well, up in Canada, the Métis, which are half-breeds, half non-Indian and half European, well, it's taken them from contact 350 years ago to last 6 months ago to get recognized as an Indigenous tribe of Canada. It's taken them that long to gain their registry, their recognition. Us Indians, we were wards of the government until 1961. We weren't allowed to vote, and so you have Métis, the First Nations, which I am, and the Inuit from the Arctic North regions. So we have land claims. I have free dental, I have free eyeglasses, I have free medical, free prescriptions. My son can go to university fully paid and get a paycheck to go because he's an Indian. We are more Canadian than Canadian, the Indigenous people of Canada. Don't want to offend anyone. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying what it's like. And we cost billions a year, the three Indigenous people. Now, conclusive proof of the existence of Sasquatch comes out. We have the fourth Indigenous tribe of Canada. They're going to need land claims. They're going to need to be their own areas, enclaves. We're not going to see logging, mining, pipelines, forestry, urban sprawl, ski resorts, because they will be protected, because the three Indigenous tribes and all the people that are environmentally friendly will protect the other tribes so that their homelands aren't clear-cut, mined, fracked, and so forth. So when you go out and you see lights and you think about it, oh, I was private messaging, I was emailing, I was on a blog, I was on a podcast going, I'm going Sasquatching April 19th, come with me. Big Brother's listening and watching and recording. And all of a sudden, Big Brother sends the drones in. And that's most of what the lights are that people are seeing up here in Canada. I can't speak for anywhere else, but here in Vancouver Island, and in my experience when I went Sasquatching on a yacht and we saw lights, it was a flipping drone because our GPS plotter went all crazy. And by the time we had all of our electronics go down, I'm not going to be into conspiracies or anything, but I know it's the hairless human was monkeying about with our equipment somehow, some way. So, and then the other part of lights. Do you ever hear someone who's been sexually abused or physically abused, mentally abused, suffering from PTSD, talk openly and freely about the trauma that they had? No, because the mental Band-Aid kicks in. Nature's way, God, the creator, puts a mental Band-Aid on them so that, yeah, they still have it. They suffer from it, that trauma. But in most cases, they're just silent about it. And they don't even flash back to it all the time. After a while, the trauma that they had disappears. The mental Band-Aid takes care of them. So when you're on a commercial fish boat and you're on the storm of the century and you're looking up at mountains coming at you and you think your boat's going to capsize, when you're out there grizzly bear hunting and your gun jams and that grizzly bear that's got 2 bullets in it is coming at you like a D8 freight train and you're rushing to get that 12 gauge out of your back holster and you shoot that thing and it skids by you. And your heart's, you can see your chest going out, your heart's pounding so much, your knees are shaking. You try to roll your cigarette with tobacco, you can't do it. That's fear. And fear has a way of putting a mental Band-Aid on you. And when I hear people say, oh, there was orbs flying around, no, that's fear. You were so scared, you were just about defecating in your pants that your mind kicked in. And the next thing you know, you're seeing orbs and things. And that's my belief because I've been there, that scared when Sasquatch has been around where I saw pops of light and I saw a red light in the forest. But when I went back and I truthed it for tracks, for hair, for pushes, for anything, there was nothing other than deer tracks. So to me, that was my fear mechanism, band-aiding me, because I was so scared with that Sasquatch that was in that bush shaking a tree and making a lot of aggressive noise. And I don't follow. I'm a member of Monster X Radio or Bigfoot Without the BS, no woo. So I do not support or talk about alien flying, porthole jumping, cloaking, mind speaking Sasquatches. It's just, we got to keep this crispy. If you're not in that forest being crispy, something's going to happen to you. You're going to break it, pop a knee, break a hip, break a leg, compound fractures, bleed out, hypothermia, die, and everything in the forest gets pooped out eventually. And don't be one of those that get pooped out too early. So you have to be crispy in that forest. And that's what I always tell people is don't be out there looking for tree structures and orbs. Look for the Sasquatch. And don't look for this up, because he's going to be hiding behind his arm or a bush like that. That's how we dance it on the dance floors. So you got to be crispy. You got to show you got well-developed frontal lobes, because Sasquatch does, even though he has a sloping forehead. Because he's the world's greatest hide-and-seek champion, and he's kicking our back ends bad. We will bag and tag him.
Well, I hope we don't bag him.
Well, bag him with a picture or video.
Oh, okay.
That's better.
Or the Jane Goodall, Diane Fossey sit down and interact with a clan or one. And then you can take out your, what I like to call white man's magic, the cell phone, and take pictures of the mouth. Get them to open up and get the molars, under the tongue, back of the mouth, their palms, their soles of their feet, even their armpits. So when you come out and you show people all of those video and pictures, who's going to argue that those crispy pictures are fake and photoshopped? They're going to go, my God, conclusive proof. Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin, my good friend, they almost bagged and tagged it crispy, now with stabilization. And for people who have seen Sasquatches, without a doubt, Bob Gimlin and Roger Patterson, they filmed the real thing. That was the Junacha, Wild Woman of the Woods, the female Sasquatch.
Wow, that's so awesome. And we have less than a minute left on the show. So I just want to say thank you for coming on. And there's so many things I wanted to ask you, but didn't. So I'm going to ask, will you come on the show again another time?
Oh, absolutely. Be honored to come on your show.
Awesome.
Don't forget, everyone, Sasquatch Island. Go to the Facebook group, ask to join, scroll through, go to the bathroom, grab a beverage, sit down, scroll away, and be brought to a different place, Sasquatch Island.
Awesome.
And don't forget your toilet paper. Thank you
Always
so
have
much,
toilet
Tom.
paper. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure to have you. And remember, everybody, get over to our YouTube channel at She-Squatchers Official and subscribe so we can win that race. Put us girls out in front, because girls rule, right? We need your support. We'll see everybody next week right here on the Journey Radio Show. Good night, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in.
That's it.